Michael Carrick is set to become Manchester United's next caretaker manager, or should I say head coach, ahead of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's been a genuine whirlwind these last 7 days, from Ruben Amorim being surprisingly sacked after Leeds, to Solskjaer being linked with a role, and now Carrick being the favoured choice. Let's talk through things, and please get your opinion in the comments. What's your thoughts on Carrick as the choice for caretaker head coach? So we've gone from Ruben Amorim being sacked last Monday to effectively a two-horse race between Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Michael Carrick to be United's caretaker manager to the end of the season, and now it looks like it's going to be Carrick. All right, the Athletic reporting that he's a favoured person, so is the BBC. Announcement in the next 48 hours. I'm going to run through. What do you think about the return of Carrick to Manchester United? Because if you asked a few days ago, it felt like Solskjaer was the man who was going to be, for the second time, United's caretaker manager until the end of the season. But now, the Times overnight reported that Carrick must have happened over the weekend with the interviews that happened between Barada and Wilcox and Carrick and Solskjaer. Times reported it. To be fair to Stehausen, he reported it first as well. And then the Athletic this morning, saying that Carrick is now in pole position. Now, if you've missed the news, let me run through the article for you quickly, just as a brief overview. All right. Carrick's moved into pole position for the role. Carrick has emerged as the leading candidate after those interviews, as I said, with Barada and with Wilcox. Fletcher is in line to potentially assist Carrick, and on top of that, it is thought that another coach would come in to support Carrick as well. And an announcement is expected in the next 48 hours. And that is the full announcement. As I said, it's basically confirmed as well by the BBC too. And here we are. Not a position that I thought, well, it's just nothing in these last 7 days puts a smile on my face. I'll be completely honest. Not the idea of Solskjaer coming back to the club, not the idea of Carrick coming back to the club, not the football club, not the matches, not Ruben Amorim being sacked, not anything to do with on the pitch or off the pitch. Nothing in this last week has put a smile on my face as a United fan. But I want to speak about Carrick here, okay? So if United have chosen Carrick, first of all, I'll say congratulations to Michael Carrick. It's the biggest job in the world. He knows that. He was very successful here as a player. And he's had success at Middlesbrough. Now, in a separate video, I'm going to speak about his overall setup, how he helped Middlesbrough massively improve when he joined them in the Championship, the system that he uses. You know, it's going to be quite ironic, I think. Maybe ironic, maybe not the right word. But a lot of the times, Carrick, his teams, in build-up, end up having a three at the back because one fullback pushes forward and one fullback tucks in. It's going to be interesting to see what United fans think about that. And what Old Trafford thinks about that. He is a possession-dominant manager. But anyway, Carrick himself. I can't look at Carrick and I can't look at Solskjaer and think that any of them are going to be the solution to our problems. The problems are still so deep at this club. And for me to be saying that truthfully and honestly, 14 months after Amorim, it sucks beyond belief. For Carrick, what does he have that Solskjaer doesn't? I suppose, what does he give that Solskjaer doesn't, which is why he's been chosen? He's probably got more acumen tactically. I think that's fair to say. Overall, he was known as one of the coaches that actually led on that side of things with Solskjaer, and obviously his time at Middlesbrough too. He's also managed United before those 3 games after, who was it that went? Was it after Ten Hag went and then Amorim came in? I think it was. Can't quite remember. Beat Valencia, beat Arsenal, drew against Chelsea. Played well. So he's got a little bit of experience in that sense. But there's a lot of unknowns about Carrick. And maybe that's partly the reason he was chosen. Because with Solskjaer, the story's kind of already been told. Would it have... Mate, it's a backward step no matter who we're moving towards. We've sacked a manager mid-season and we need a caretaker manager to the end of the season. Like, you can't paint that as a positive. It's just not possible. Do I think Carrick is more capable of taking us to where we need to be by the end of the season? Do I think he's more likely to get us a Champions League spot? I don't quite know. But this football club, look, Fletcher and Carrick and whoever that third coach might be, the environment that Carrick is coming into, it's going to be the shortest season that we've had in 100 years as a football club. That sums up how I feel watching Manchester United right now. The fair and justified anger from the fan base towards the leadership of this football club that has just not led it. From the Ten Hag decision to extend his contract, to Ashworth coming in and being sacked, to Ruben Amorim coming in and being sacked within 14 months. The leadership of this football club has spectacularly failed in their big decisions over these last 14 months. And fan discontent. It feels like the United fan base, in its current state, is the least patient it's ever been and the most frustrated it's ever been. And to then go to a system which actually relies on a lot of possession and maybe sometimes plays patient, slower football, that's a little bit of a risky move. I'll be completely honest. But for an interim manager of 2 games to say this tells you everything about how these players are, where these players are mentally. And we know that. We don't need to... You didn't need that game against Brighton to show me the mental fragility of Manchester United Football Club. How many times this season have we dropped to lead? How many times? Too many for me to even remember or even speak about. Fletcher came in and did a job in these last 2 games, but was never really in contention for the number 1 role. And United have now chosen Carrick. Now, as I said, I'm going to do a separate video looking at it from a tactical perspective. Exactly how does the team line up under Michael Carrick? Where are the strengths? Where are the weaknesses? What will work? What will need to be worked on? That's a separate conversation, because this is just... I don't think I would have... My choice probably would have been Solskjaer. And maybe a lot of that was just down to familiarity. And maybe down to simply thinking what I felt could get United towards the Champions League spots. Because I don't think it is a massively revolutionary tactical system. It's simply getting results. It's just winning damn games of football. And I hope that Michael Carrick... Do I think he needs a miracle? I don't know whether I would use that word to describe it. But he's going to have to... And he comes in and his first 2 games are going to be City at home and then Arsenal away. I mean, that is the biggest baptism of fire you could ever say. Because in 2 weeks' time, it may well be a case that we are just there still knocking on the edge of the top 5 after decent positive results against City and Arsenal. Or it could be a case that we are beaten by the top 2 in the Premier League, and any sort of semblance of a chance of getting there is kind of diminished. And then for the rest of the season, we're just chasing Europa League football. It's a possibility. I don't think there was a spectacularly obvious choice between Carrick and Solskjaer. But if they've gone with Carrick after those interviews, they've gone with Carrick for a reason. That will be a decision that Ineos have made. Have they made the right one here? Well, we'll find out in the goodness of time. But you can let me know what you think in the comments. I'll be here when the news is completely confirmed. But the return of Michael Carrick to Manchester United. He's managed to lead this football club, make a little career as a manager, and come back to this football club before we've replaced him in midfield.